the thing. The election is right around the corner. And we can actually see as clear as day how many lobbyists are correlated with Silicon Valley and this bubble. Thus, the AI sector and crypto, which is part of this diversification bubble. Remember how we were just looking at the bonds and we see this monstrous run up? And then here we have the distribution channel. That's when the Fed's holding it down at zero. This is getting that cash on the street, stimulating the economy, building jobs. The Fed's projecting to do a longer than normal distribution channel already. And the market makers, the big players, know that this is an artificial intelligence market. That's going to be the #1 bullish sector coming up because of the White House's regulation on crypto. You can't do these degen DeFi Ponzi schemes that were so popular during the last cycle. For anybody who's heard crypto related to Ponzi, it was because of, we're so early right now, we don't even recognize what's going to happen in the bull run. It's going to be a whole new market. After everybody sees the gains we make, about a year from now, they're going to jump over, and of course, they're not naive. They're going to start looking for new listings. And this year, because of regulation and because of the popularity of artificial intelligence, it's going to be rushing right into AI. We can take a look at OR in a minute. Is this not on? Are we live right now? Are we live? I'm seeing in the chat, are we live right now? Okay, good. I was like, because people are saying, what's going on? It looked like some people were locked out on my YouTube screen. Okay, good. We're live. I was like, what is going on here with this technical stuff? All right, great. Artificial intelligence is going to be running this AI market. And because of that, and the lobbyists that are in place looking to get their hands on these bonds, look at the vice president of the Republican Party. We're talking about a guy who used to work for PayPal. What's his name? J.D. Vance? He wrote that book, Hillbilly Elegy. He used to work for PayPal. This is underlining this bubble is going to get pushed into Silicon Valley, which is right now working hand over fist to develop artificial intelligence.
My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.
They're trying to get their hands on the most sentient AI that they can right now. Buying all these A100 GPUs. The leading stocks are all connected to AI. Therefore, the market makers right now, from their perspective, hold on, let me cut that down. The market makers, they're looking to start pricing retail out and making retail pay a premium on altcoins right now. As they have the calculations, the M2's off the chain. This bull market is underestimated, hands down. Therefore, let's take Tau for an example. Tau, as we know, leading AI. This is a flagship project in the artificial intelligence sector. What we have here is a charting setup known as the repeating trendline system. As you can see, let's get this actually even. There we go. So we originally set this up in VIP right here. And as you can see, each one of these angled Fibonacci pitches is acting as support and resistance. And right now, we're on the bottom of the gray zone. As we zoom out, those contact points become less clear, but it's the same exact thing back here. And all we did, and this is the repeating trend line system, we do this on Caspa all the time, and it gives you so much insight. Right now, we have all these contact points and correlations. We're right here at the bottom of the gray zone. There are numerous momentum indicators that are matching identically to what we're seeing on the Tau chart, thus projecting that this is where we are here and that another run up into the blue zone is about to take place. We're going to get a brief consolidation, starting to form a flag on top of this pole, and then we're going to peak out here in the blue zone, and then this will be our downward channel where things will really consolidate and start to regroup, getting prices up even higher. And this can indubitably fall down into altcoins like, or let's take a look at crypto rank. This is the #1 tool for searching crypto, for using crypto. Forget about coin market cap. We'll reset all the filters and we're just going to look for AI. That way we can find or even easier. Now, sometimes it's artificial intelligence that's running. Other times it's ZK rollup. Through using these search engines, scanning through different VCs, which is one of the tools we have in the 24-point checklist. By the way, these runners that have been taking place as we speak, these artificial intelligent picks, in the entire market, 10,000 stocks, we've got reports written on 3 out of 3 of the top performing art projects in the entire market, and they're AI, showing that our vetting system is second to none. Yeah, Ort looks like it's starting to beef up. This is something that we had our eyes on as a micro cap. One of the key factors here is it does have good volume. Something that you really want to avoid is like with these hash AIs everybody's interested in, when you have such a low volume, and some of the picks that Alex Becker comes up with, like Palm AI, you never want to get more than 1% of the daily volume. And that volume lack of is also showing no correlation with the bond market. The biggest winners just ran super hard, and they'll continue to run into the bull market. Why? Satoshi's secret. As this unlocks, it'll go right into the projects that have been beefing up. It's an indicator showing where the institutional investors are buying. On Caspa, we can see this time and time again. Each one of these arrows is an FOMC meeting on Caspa. Clear indicator that the big dogs are purchasing Caspa. This was one of our original buy signals. The rest of the market dumping, Caspa beefing up all around an FOMC meeting, which is a direct indicator. Market makers, investment banker level players, they're the ones buying it. Therefore, forward looking, as this bubble pops like it did here in February 2020, causing the entire run up in both Bitcoin and altcoins, that money's going to go right into Caspa. And we're going to do a price prediction right now, augmentating for the M2. Drumstick, no, we're going over how these hypotheses of a correction, because of the M2, because of the amount of money that's out right now, and this is all going back to Satoshi's original design, the central banks are losing control. The stock market guys have been predicting a pullback for a year, and it's just not happening. And you'll see this in Venezuela or any other third world countries right as their money system is collapsing. And of course, Bitcoin designed, correlated. Every time the Fed is cutting rates, Bitcoin's halving. So as the supply is restricted, the demand is going up as this bubble of cash is looking for risk on assets as a inflationary haven. So a genius design, and it was by somebody who mastered economics, like Alan Greenspan, who artificial intelligence is constantly saying is Satoshi. Let's do a price prediction for Kaspa into the 2026 bull run market. In 2023, we're looking at $140 trillion. And this is with a 6% yield. So it's compounding. As we get into 2026, as this bull market starts to really kick off, let's get this in position. Bitcoin right now, and this is using non-augmentated for M2 adjustments, we're looking at 150,000 easy during the run-up phase a year from now. This can go much higher. That's where it is without calculating all of this excess money. 150,000 is a very bearish Bitcoin prediction. It's only double where it previously was. We were just at 75,000 a while ago. Just doubling that during the bull run seems extremely tame, specifically with all the ETF news. The popularity of crypto is ramping up as well. So we've got a demand and a supply all coming together, multiple demand functions. This, we're looking at a 210. We're looking at tripling from here, easy. And this is all going to come into the Kaspa price projection at the end of the year. As we've already correlated, Kaspa absorbing more than its fair share of the bond market. And we can directly tie this into Marathon Digital. They're mining Kaspa way back in September, right? Which means they've been thinking about it for over a year. They've been scheming to make purchases for a while. So this is Jane Street, who owns Marathon Mining, and they're just mining enough to have their pulse on it. They just want to know what's going on with the blockchain. They want to be honed right in there. As we go into the 2026 market top, we'll start with a model that's not augmentated for the M2. So this is our most bearish scenario, that the M2 wasn't rising catastrophically high with yield, that this wasn't the end of fiat, which it is. What we're looking at is a historical flashback to November 2021. Bitcoin's just under 60K. On the total 3 chart, that looks like this. November 2021. It's the top. We're right here. BNB has 10% of Bitcoin's market cap. Solana has 60, Cardano 50. This is another document that I pulled up. Let's zoom in here so we can all see these numbers. And this is the absolute all-time highs of these altcoins. XRP, they're doing 12, almost 13% at their top. And this is all relevant to Kaspa. Cardano, 9%. Solana, 7.8%. Dogecoin, Polkadot, Litecoin, 2%. Polygon Matic, 2%. So this is kind of our range depending on how fast Caspa team launches smart contracts, allowing the KII to build. This is our range for the diversification, or excuse me, the distribution phase of the market. Here's the run up. GameStop popping off, Bitcoin reaching its top. Altcoins need this injection of liquidity to develop further. There's the run up. So for Caspa to hit between 10 and we'll say worst case scenario 2% of Bitcoin's market cap, well, we've already established $3 trillion is 150,000 that's bearish. Therefore, 10% of that is 300 billion, and we're getting Caspa into the double digits. And this is not factoring in the M2, which is driving everything parabolically. We're not getting a rest. We're not getting a break because the M2 is just so out of control. We're about to cross this major Y-axis repeating line right here. And after that, it's free run. There's some resistance at the psychological level here, and we're just going to keep cranking up. Meanwhile, the total 3, specifically for altcoins, the institutional investors are looking to put retail in a position to pay a premium on these projects because it's been verified. They're now betting on a sure thing.
Public's out there throwing darts at a board, sport. I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
And that's what the market makers do. They need data in order to make their decision. That's how they roll. They have a checklist and a system very similar to what we have inside of our VIP group. So what we're looking at right here is the data that got these guys going. Make full screen. It's the rate cuts. So previously they were anticipating to cut this much. Now they've gone and decided that they're going to hack it down to even more. And the key point here is that they're going to hold rates down into 2027. That translates out to this chart, a longer period of low interest rates. That translates out on this chart, a wider period of the distribution as projects are being developed. Let me show you on AVAX what that looks like. First up, we get the run up. GameStop's going crazy. Bitcoin hits 60K. Now, AVAX has an injection of liquidity. Market makers, investment bankers looking for a shelter from inflation because they can no longer keep their money in the federal DeFi bond market, earning a safe and secure 5%. Back here it was 3%, and that's compounding. They're putting it on the street to stimulate the economy. And they start building Trader Joe, the utility coin, to allow everybody to swap the meme coins and the goofy distribution channel run-ups. In the previous market, it was all Ponzi-nomics, crazy monkey NFTs, things of this nature, almost test running for the real world use case stuff they're going to come out with this market. So there's actually a nice pullback here on AVAX. They start developing more and then they rocket to the upside. Caspa won't see as severe of a pullback, and they're also going to get a much stronger run up. Why? Because KRC20 just happened. The genius of that, of course, as retail, we try to correlate everything to price instantly. As this FOMC meeting is happening right here, Marathon Digital, their mining profits go up. They've got all those ASICs running. They can see, hey, we're making bank. And who owns Marathon Digital? BlackRock, Jane Street, State Street, the big VCs, the market makers, the guys who are in the bond markets, the guys who run everything. They work hand in hand with the central banks. They're like Batman and Robin. You know, on their perspective, BlackRock and those guys, They're getting paperwork on Caspa right now, seeing how the mining profits are going up, and now they can do inscriptions. Inscriptions now live. The big catalyst for Caspa that will make it go dynamically to the ceiling is smart contracts. That'll just be zoinks, because once again, they want to bet on sure things. The deal's already done when the market makers step in. There's a lot of people who go around and they try to like follow Alex Becker's tweets. A lot of his picks are not that great. He has some good insight, but following the institutional investors, that's going to give you way more profit. That's how we got in on Caspa super early when everybody was still doubting it, recognizing because it's having such strong upside while the rest of the market was selling off, the Fed was raising rates right here, creating this landslide of legacy crypto dumping. Caspa was ramping up, and that's a bullish signal, and that lets us know investment bankers are buying. So projects that are ripping to the upside right now, these are the ones that we want to get our hands on, because the investment banking class are getting ready to make retail pay a premium on these. They're like, forget about the check back. Let's just ramp this up. And they're getting ready for the monster. Do the governments take advantage of a crypto bull run? The crypto bull run correlates with the global liquidity market as a whole. We were just talking about how lobbyists are all in place to get their hands on this bond market bubble. In order to balance inflation, what they do is they offer this yield to basically get some of that money that they've been printing off the street. So it exists, but the thing is, the Fed's holding it. Okay, and they're going to give them a little premium for letting them hold it. And they keep playing this cat and mouse game that they realize would eventually lead to destruction. Whenever anything's going to be built by the government, a highway, a hospital, a B-12 bomber, they issue bonds. Everything in the world is coming down to bonds. This stuff is super crucial. You always hear that phrase, stocks and bonds. When you're learning the stock market, you're like, hey, let's go and study the earnings calls. Let's read the company's perspective and see how much money they're making and look at the competitors. You will get way more profit and insight into price action by actually forgetting about the details of the stock and studying the bonds. You remember the GameStop phenomenon? February 20th, GameStop took off. Literally. This was actually, we showed my buy ticket for GameStop because I was trading stocks during the prior bond market cycle, realizing how much short position was on that. That's just part of the puzzle piece. The fact that the bond market was about to have a massive injection of liquidity let everybody in the stocks know it was time to go bullish. So we showed a buy purchase for GameStop here, and then we had this massive rip to the upside. Look at the date here. January 29th, 2021. When did Bitcoin hit its price? 20 days later. Peak price, February 20th. And that's all because of the bond market. So the central banks are all hand in hand controlling this. This is economics 101, and it plays a direct factor into cryptocurrency. So, of course, they take advantage of the bull runs. And there's lobbyists in position to get regulation to use this money instead of having the majority of it go to the citizens. They want to use this for the war fund. The war machine wants this money more than anybody. And so they have their lobbyists in position to bully politicians around and make sure that they can get it. You've been hearing a lot of news about, overseas conflicts. Well, this is when they want to start fighting. because they want to spend this money on aircraft carriers, not building AVACs. See what I'm saying? So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. The 100 BPS is off the chain. I think they can do incremental upgrades of 32, and it's going to get us where we really need to go with Caspa, with the speed, with everything. 100 BPS is going to be off the chain. It's absolutely never too late to buy Caspa at all. I actually have close family members that are purchasing Caspa as we speak. Large positions. Let me show you why. We're not going to get a massive price break. So inside of our VIP, you're in the VIP. We've been hyped. That's right. You can't speak English. I'm going to email you after this and we'll have some one-on-one time and I'll get you up to speed. But just to summarize what's going on, we won't be going below, even in the worst case scenario, this resistance line right here. This is a repeating trend line. Now, we're not doing naked technical analysis here. We're combining this with fundamentals as well. This all gets pieced together with these rate cuts and everything. But let me show you this interesting trend line. This actually started way back here. And when you clone that trend line from here, you can see that it fits like a glove along the bottom of the cup and handle here. What we're looking at is a version of the power law chart, which I'm sure you guys have seen, like cut out like a map and just put flat. So it's easier to understand, easier to trade. I never like those curved lines. So because of the power law and that angled curve, eventually this y-axis support bumps up. And now, seeing how the Bank of Japan carry trade wick is down here, the tip of this last bottom side downswing is here. We're never going to get down here, and we're definitely going to stay in this x-axis channel. Right now, we're breaking out of resistance. So the other line that we need to stay focused on is this gold one. Let's zoom in. This gold trend line that we saw is repeating constantly over and over again. It's just everywhere on the Caspa chart. Constantly is pulling us back. This holds us back. It's been holding us back since here and even here. It's repeating. Now, the reason that crypto has these repeating trend lines and the stock market doesn't is because cryptos have a strict halving and emission schedule. And of course, we realize this on Bitcoin with the 4-hour rocket to the upside based on that exact halving schedule. But this plays out in briefer time windows as well. And that gives us repeating trend lines. They're also known as origin trend lines. So this Fibonacci pitch right here is just showing us this downward price channel, just like here. And we're starting to get out of it. See, we're escaping. And as we escape, we start to do more upside. So zooming in even closer, what we're likely to get is some type of a head and shoulders rounded cup pattern. So let's actually cut something out from here and paste it over there. So we'll take this. That was our last exit, and it looks like we already kind of got that started here. So something like this. And this is the most bearish case. More likely we'll probably get something like this, more of an ascending triangle upward. But yeah, we're getting out of this and getting upward right now. This is the most bearish case. Struggling to get underneath 16 cents. And that's bearish. Most likely we're about to cross this over again and we can even start running up instantly. This resistance line is key to cross. Dog to the moon. We've been doing a cat. I've been seeing a lot of cat coins. Oh, this is dog to the moon. It's on Bitcoin. That's interesting. Okay. What we're seeing right here on this chart is a classic wick off exit. Let's see if we can pull that up on the big screen. Dog to the moon. Okay. What we're seeing is a classic wick off exit. Now on Caspa, we see these over and over again with these repeating trend lines, right? You get a rally to the upside, massive downside, and then you get an exit. We can see this also on the Tau chart. So now we're starting to exit out. There's still time for lateral movement, but would I chase this one? Let's take a look at the oscillators. This is another tool that gives us insight into how strong the momentum is. And then we'll take a look at the volume tool as well. All right, yeah, so we're pretty maxed out. We are seeing a higher high here, which is a good sign. This is nicknamed the fuel tank, and this is your stochastic oscillator. As a rule of thumb, you want to buy when the stochastic oscillator is at the bottom and sell at the top. There's also variations in combination with this other indicator where we can get a bull flag. So the variation we're looking at right now, and also because of this flag formation, is a bull flag variation. A key aspect to this, as we can see starting right now, is this staircase up on the 4 hour. This is going to check back. Let's look at the 1 hour. Yeah, see how this stochastics, these are oscillators, which means they just swing back and forth. Wait. Keep track of these oscillators. Yeah, see, we got to touch back on the half hour. And you're going to want to wait for your best entry is going to be a 4 hour cutback. This would be your dream setup, is the 4 hour slashes all the way down. And because there's so much fuel in the tank, this is go launch. This is something that we just did in VIP on Caspa. Looking at these. So this is a textbook buy signal, and we had this out last night as it was just touching off the bottom before it elbowed. We're above the baseline, which means there's fuel in the tank for momentum, and we're fully retraced. We use this as an entry key in the base of the cup right here. So this was post FOMC, nice rally, complete pullback, fuel tank right around the baseline, meaning it can keep going upward. And then you'll see during the sell-off periods, the fuel tank will be low and headed downward. This works even better on Tau, has a great stochastic reading. So for this, I would back off for a minute. Every asset haven is going to run at different timings. Like yesterday was ZK rollups. The first off the back was AI. This could get a pullback, at least on the 1 hour, touching back the 2, and just kind of feel out like that. And I think, yeah, what you're going to get here is, and on a lot of charts, is we're seeing bull flags. So because it's on a pole, and then they're going to create some kind of triangle or some kind of a miniature cup and handle, there's going to be some kind of flag, which is just showing the psychology of what the market's thinking, consolidation, and then continual upside. That's my spin on that. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah, we worked very hard in the VIP to make it different. A lot of other VIP groups, they're all about copy trading. Every time we post a trading plan, every time we look at a chart, first of all, we never do naked technical analysis. We're always integrating the charting pattern, the statistical momentum readouts with broader market conditions, and not just team stuff. Like this X thing, like, oh, Caspa might get listed. It actually says Toncoin. So this is basically just buy the rumor mill type of stuff. More importantly is the bond market, the FOMC. This is where our insight is really coming from. And this will help us drastically when it comes time to take profit. Building a portfolio by using time diversification, not a fan of spreading the money thin. Fan of going all in on your best idea. Caspa is the best place to start a portfolio, to time diversify. And what we go over in VIP, the reason why you want to start with Caspa is because it's going to have a strong run-up phase. This is that February 20th date, the GameStop phenomenon, the Bitcoin run-up, all coupling with when the central banks get the money out of their DeFi bubble and onto the street to make jobs, to get everything to grow. Layer ones like Caspa, specifically with the Casplex launch, getting inscriptions going, it's going to have a strong run-up. Now, of course, Caspa can have a very powerful distribution phase, but it's your AI projects and GameFi or your ZK rollups that are going to have a stronger distribution. As we can see with Bitcoin, which is like the layer one of layer ones, that was the run-up. And then it actually sells off to create the altcoin distribution channel. Because altcoins are more about building products, they need that cash injection to get going. You're not very late. If people are thinking, I do not own SUI, no. I go for, right now, artificial intelligence projects that are new listings. So after this rate cut information came out, which is what we're looking at right here, the market makers now have new data, which means they can bet on a sure thing. If we run a search for the entire market on what are the top performing coins, just hands down. So we'll reset all these filters. This is everything. And we'll see, show me the 7 best. And what we got to do is get rid of micro caps. So anything 10 million and under, we exclude, just to make it more narrowed down. You know, there's all those like $1 million things that like quadrupled up. In the top 100, last week, I don't know where they are right now, we had every single one of our AI picks that we have a report on, except the Alex Becker one, was in the top 100 gainers. So it was like a 3-for-3 hit for the projects that we're focusing on and building bags for. Those projects, Spectral, DEAI. And we also have one for this project, Blender, although we issued it as a no buy because it looked good enough when we were doing the pre-scan, right? So first, when you're vetting for gems, of course, we build a list out, right? Just scanning over, you can figure out these ones are terrible. They have no volume, sketchy team members. There'll be red flags that you can immediately weed them out and compile the ones that have looking like hidden gems. So Blender made it all the way to the 24-point tool. And then as we were writing the report on Blender, the team was so smart.
Can we see the paperwork on those?
They hid like a bunch of weaknesses in there. And then we realized Blender, it's a plug and play device. Any of you guys familiar with GPU miners? They got like those 4 GPUs in a rack. It's just one GPU that's like prefabbed, and they're mailing it out to people and attaching this project to it. An immediate weakness right away. Why wouldn't they just let the rigs hook up to it? So it's kind of like a hobbyist novelty thing. The issue with it is, it can have good run up. It can be a solid performer. It can also rug early. And there's more detailed issues when you get into the tokenomics and the consensus algorithm. Stuff that you would not find without a system. You can't even open a Mickey D's without a checklist. You'll forget to do the temperature check. You won't slice the onions. You won't have quarters in the till. Once the rush hour starts, you're done. Crypto, way more complex. That's why it's important to have a written system. That's why we keep getting on target. The thing is, like somebody that was just asking the question, like, is it too late? You really just have to get on target. Hitting bullseyes is great, and we just hit some awesome bullseyes after the Bank of Japan crash. We got like the best swing trade in the entire market, which was Matrix Fire, and another great one on Spectral. Bullseyes are great, and you'll hit bullseyes as you combine fundamentals with technical analysis, not doing naked TA. Just get on target and let the market do the work. We're so early right now. The entire dynamics of what's going to happen and the projects that are popular will change. I can promise you that. Let's bring up this project called Open. This is pulled to the side because it's interesting, not necessarily a value investing. This is showing what some of these artificial intelligent projects are going to look like. So what this is it's like a mid journey. So I wonder if we can actually use it right now. No. So what you do here, no, you got to have some cell phone. What you do on that website is you just like mid journey. So you type a picture, like let's say you want this. You say, show me a Japanese animation ninja holding an Uzi with a Bitcoin for an eyeball. And then the artificial intelligence will create that. And then you can just print it onto t-shirts. Cool. It's a novelty application. When we start getting into, and that's what's going to be coming out during the distribution phase. And the reason why is this.
Can we see the paperwork on those?
Looking at the paperwork, the White House issued an executive order, which is going to put a stop. And this came out right before the central banks started hiking rates, kind of showing how the government and the central banks work together to control risk on markets. It came out like right here. So there was a relief rally, getting the market makers out as they know what's about to come, as we know in VIP, because we don't copy Alex Becker. As cool as he is, we copy the market makers and the institutional investors through tracking bonds and just an overall awareness of what they're up to. They get a relief rally, and then the whole thing dumps. And what this bill is covering is GB2B, good question, and we'll detail that out right now. We'll tie it into this point. So what they're doing here is, in the prior market, it was like Bored Apes Yacht Club. And when the new investors come in, they're looking to make money. They're not going to buy Bitcoin at $60,000. They're not naive, right? They're just dudes like us who are doing something else, and now they're in crypto, in the top of the bull run, showing us, for one, how early we are, but for two, these people are going to have to take a different type of investing. They're going to get into the projects that are built on top of chain, like that one Open we were just looking at. That's an example. Of course, they're oftentimes going to do projects that are able to make them money. So during the last cycle, it was like degen DeFi Ponzi scheme type of things, very shady. And the White House and the SEC was like, that's going to stop. But they overstepped, and they actually went after the good projects, like Spooky Swap on Phantom and all those crazy node things. You guys will see it. It'll still come out during this market. It's totally different once the bull market starts right here. The projects are going to be all new. People aren't going to be investing in the Caspas the early projects like we are, they're going to do the projects on top of Caspa. You see what I'm saying? There's going to be all kinds of fun projects that people can make money on if they have good timing that are super high risk, super in and out action on top of the chains we're on right now. That's the distribution phase. That's Bored Apes Yacht Club. That's yield nodes. If you guys want to research this, look up yield nodes or strong block. They're nodes as a surface. They're blatant Ponzi schemes. They were the leaders with zillions of copycats during the last cycle top. So the run-up phase. Well, the run-up phase is directly correlated with the bonds. So we can't get the money out of the bonds until they expire. So just recently, they had a massive bond auction at the highest yield possible. Back here in August 26th, as these bonds were sold, drained a lot of liquidity out of the market. And they've been selling bonds at these high rates the entire time. This is trapping loads of the liquidity. And just like this day here, see that the February 20th phenomenon, February 20th, it's a year later. We've got to have some time for these bonds to unlock and the capital to actually hit. As the Fed cuts rates, so what you're saying and the point you're making is because the Fed cut rates, this is driving money into the markets. It's speculation for what's about to come because this is a time release event. Because they're controlling the inflation. Right now, the bond market is huge. The 10/2 is like phenomenon showing there's too much cash in the Fed's hand, which is how they mitigate inflation. And in order to stimulate the economy, build jobs, things like that, take care of all of these type of numbers, you know, this above the shoulder mustard stuff, they get the money out of the bonds. And it takes time for that to happen. So we are getting a run up in speculation, but the real oomph of it isn't going to happen from a year. And this is only part of that equation. The other part that we can see all over Twitter is the Bitcoin halving cycle. You can probably just pull this up. It's every 500 to 550 days. After the Bitcoin halving, we're looking for a good display chart of it. I just got a new computer. This one's not bad. So it's trying to show after the Bitcoin halving, it takes about a year and a half for the restricted supply to eat through all of the large miners stack on Bitcoin and thus get a restricted supply. We're talking about the supply and demand equation here. So the halving will really start to take effect 550 days. The supply will really be all drained up historically, but the demand, it's a two-part equation, is coming from the bond market. So it also will take more time for the Bitcoin supply to get eaten up. And then it will be more restricted. It's a two-part equation. So we can see some run up, but it's much more based on speculation. The actual peak, the actual bond run up is a year from when they start cutting rates. So around late summer, early fall. And then we get the distribution phase as they hold the rates down. It's an entire concept that Satoshi built Bitcoin around itself. It's economics 101. Not anything notably, no. This is the x-axis resistance line. It's a repeating trend line on Caspa. We're looking at it right here in the gold. It happens all the time. Once we cross it, And the gravitational field, it's on. That's the cue for a breakout. We are now crossing it. We just barely got above it. So this is a cue for a breakout. Right now, we can get some more run on Caspa, undoubtedly. The last time we passed the gravitational field, again, it was these rounded bottom head and shoulder type patterns that gave us the exit. We're just seeing one right now. So before it was inverse head and shoulders right here. And that's the most bearish. We're breaking out right now. We're going to start to liberate. And we were in VIP shorting Caspa effectively here. And then realizing last night that it's time to flip based on some other indicators as well. Yeah, we can wait no more with the Caspa. We had originally been foreseeing, like a lot of people that are more experienced in the market, that there would be a rally and then a pullback. But it seems like because the M2 is so out of whack, there will be a continuation on this move. And ultimately, the market makers are going to utilize it to make sure that retail is paying a premium. And this run up is just going to continue to flesh out. And as it starts to roll into Caspa, yeah, there's other charting indicators. Our favorite is the stochastics. This is a buy signal. We went over last night in VIP and this is when we bought Caspa back here. Post FOMC rally, we got a full 1-day stochastic retrace with a nice baseline fuel tank. We've got a post FOMC 1-day retraction. We have a bullish market. And this indicator is showing this has this entire gauge to move to the upside. As you can see, when this is low, let's get this out of the way here. And we can remove the Chanking's oscillator, which just helps you really fine tune this concept I'm about to show you. When this is low, here, 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 here. You see what I'm saying now? Here, 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 right? Whenever this is at the bottom, that's when you buy it. You seeing that? And then this can be fine-tuned and used to get a more perceptive and accurate with the other indicator as well. We train you how to do that in VIP. And we're pretty much go launch right now. It's go launch. The worst case scenario is we're just going to get sideways motion. Remember, the election is right around the corner. Right around the corner. Nacho. The entire Caspa meme coin sector, Nacho is, in my opinion, the best one. When we're talking about Caspa meme coins, we got to bring up Rhubarb Media. So these guys are part of Casplex, and they're experts in logo making and marketing. The entities that are in Casplex, this is all the stuff they do. They've got pages of these funky logos. Branding, identity, web design, sales and marketing, branding and events. The Casplex team itself is created up of Ice River Miners, OKX Exchange, and Rhubarb Media. It's obvious why Ice River Miners wants to be there. The fees are going up now. So the miners are making more cash, which is even better for Marathon and Caspa as a whole. Rhubarb Media, because of their expertise in branding and identity and creating logos, these guys are going to customize meme coins to run on Caspa. There's going to be a new wave of Caspa meme coins launched. The teams that were getting in early are more of your underground type of teams. these guys are going to step up and try to compete with Matt Fury. So when the next batch of Caspa meme coins comes out, and this could happen late in the market, this could happen after the run-up phase. There's a lot of projects that come out after the run-up. In fact, we've got a 24-point report on a GameFi project that is hands down the best GameFi project you can find. And with any luck, that will get listed after the run-up. So we can buy and diversify into AI and other projects and then just use dry capital there later. They're going to come out with a new batch of meme coins, and they need to have a hit. With one Pepe, like Matt Fury, he has a whole array of meme coins because he got one hit. So they're going to use their power and influence to get one meme coin off and running, whether it's a cat, a dog, or a frog, who knows? And use that success to help other teams with their branding on Caspa chain. So as the White House has the restrictions, meaning that the distribution phase has to be more quality projects, building on Caspa is going to be a popular narrative, as Caspa is the fastest growing crypto in the market, hands down. Can't be compared to. It's where it's at. For the Trader Joe, the utility coins, anyone building a real project, Rhubarb Media wants to be able to consult with them, work with them, and advise them on branding identity with their Casplex connections. So they need a hit. So what I would be doing is waiting for a meme coin or a batch of meme coins that come out that have some kind of connection to Rhubarb Media. And because that's their foot in the door to prove that they're winners, like Matt Fury. I'd go with Nacho. I mean, I don't get into memes. Meme coins have very fleeting gains, and we'll see the massive upside late in the distribution channel. So we're still waiting for the halving to take effect. We're still waiting for the Fed rate cuts to actually affect the bond market money. And then once that hits crypto, as we can see, the Fed's planning on holding those rates down, keeping them low for a longer period of time, which creates a longer distribution channel. And somewhere in there, that's when your meme coins will reach the top. So to help you guys with the timing on that. I've looked at this before. This is a polychain capital pick. This is interesting. Coinbase Ventures. Space time. There's a massive glaring red flag on this, which is why I haven't done a detailed research on it, is the volume. Even right now, even right now, we're looking at 500K. That is monstrously low volume. You never want to hold more than 1%. So for this is instantly a pass for me. And we can see, since the FOMC, it's had very, very mild upside, which means that these polychain capital, these Coinbase guys, institutional investors, they've already decided that they're not particularly, I don't know, let's take a look at the bigger chart because there might have been some other buying points. They very well may not be connecting this with the bond market. This might not be big for institutional investors. Therefore, it might not have the kind of run-up that we're really looking for. Yeah, this is just looking troublesome. I would go elsewhere. Layer ones can be very tricky, and they can also be extremely misleading. I bet that you've read through the white paper, and these guys are advertising a high TPS to tie this into something really educational. In white papers for layer ones, they'll flat out lie to you by exaggerating their TPS, transactions per second, using ZK technology. They'll come up with, oh, we're faster than Solana. They have these huge numbers, and it's because they're using ZK tech, which is a layer 2. So that isn't their base speed at all. And it's really false advertising. So this, in my opinion, there's something could be wrong with this. If it got listed there and it's just been selling off, this doesn't look super hot to me. I've seen this around Twitter. People are talking about it. I have looked at it before. It's always had an issue with volume. Usually it's even lower than this, which is an immediate red flag. We want higher volume in order to get these neck-breaking run-ups. We've got to get stuff that's correlated with the bond market. We've got to get stuff that investment banker class people are buying. One of the biggest misconceptions and false narratives that we hear in the Caspa community is that we're only going to go for fair launch projects. There are a few gems like Caspa that are fair launched, but when you stick with that, you're stuck with a bunch of garage band cryptos. And that might have been cool during the last cycle. Crypto's changing at the speed of technology. And in order to even come up with competitive products, you need money. You need money to have the best people. You need money to have the best everything. And so these garage band projects, not that good. Now, those guys do have VCs, but I mean, who knows? It doesn't look like a good or healthy chart at all. I would look farther into the tokenomics and see if they're doing a massive unlock right now on Space Mash. There are tools that you can dig. I don't want to go through it right now. It just eats up so much time. If they're doing a massive unlock right now and getting rid of tons of tokens and then, or coins in this case, and then they're going to later cut that off, that's the only scenario where I would even consider looking at it. But the volume's too low. Well, everybody has their own technique. Everybody has their own method. But at the end of the day, we can keep score here. And I hate doing this because it seems like I'm bragging, but I beat everybody, hands down. And the key understanding is from coming over from the stock market as a day trader. For one, you have a lot more experience. That's like coming out of the UFC and then fighting in bare knuckle boxing. You know, these guys are chumps. They're not athletes. The crypto markets are very easy, as we can see. Part of the reason is there's not a lot of fat fingers on the scale. When you're talking about stock markets, they got the pre-market, the dark market, right? They got the off the books markets, the options market. They've got so much going on, and there's so many people trying to influence that factor. So much more of this data, jobs, unemployment, goes into stocks, crypto, because it's new, particularly with new listings, which is what we prefer trading. There's not so many fat fingers on the chart, which makes it far more easy to apply fundamental and technical analysis combined. When we scooped up Caspa back here, it was all because of our understanding of bonds, which nobody who did well last cycle knows anything about, because this is the dream setup. The Fed cuts rates to 0 and holds it there for a year while printing money, mind you. So they did all this with the bonds, and then they turned the money printer on. And what ended up happening is you get a whole slew of creators. Some of them have a Lamborghini that they bought from crypto. But what they also have is hypotheses, catalysts that they're connecting to their gains that aren't a driving factor because they aren't talking about what actually is moving money, which is money. That's why the logo of our channel is the back of a dollar. We're all about money. You've got to know about the money. So as a day trader, you often trade QQQ or SQQQ at the same time. So you get a double read on the chart. It's like going up or going down, two charts at once. And you use the bond market as the federal government is hiking rates. You go to the short chart because if you end up making any kind of error, you can just hodl it and keep holding. And eventually, because they're hiking rates, the angle is downward. And then vice versa, when they're cutting rates, and as that unlock happens, you go long and you just roll with it. Using that insight, every single content creator, let's not pick on Chris because he's a Caspa community guy. Let's talk about Crypto Banter, Altcoin Daily. These guys right here during the May FOMC meeting, the Fed hikes rates up, which means what they're doing is they're inviting investment bankers out of risk on markets because they're going to pay them more money to hold their cash. And they do compounding. Of course, they're going to take that deal and they're also going to follow the central bank's lead. This is Batman and Robin. They work together. Okay. Jane Street's Robin, BlackRock's Robin, Powell is Batman. They all went long here. They said it's altcoin season. We shorted. Jane Street dumped all their legacy cryptos that were associated with this White House regulation. Phantom, great example. Phantom was basically, because of Spooky Swap and all that goofy stuff, it was like the DeFi degen platform of the last market. Right here during this bloodbath, good old Caspa was one of the only projects not negatively affected, therefore showcasing us the big dogs are buying it. That's what we were saying back when we were scooping it up. Somebody big is buying Caspa right now. This project's going to be huge. It's on. And it was only Crypto Galaxy, Crypto John, myself, and Caspa Silver. Everybody else was bearish, or they weren't even talking about Caspa. We were the only guys covering it. I was the only guy covering it well, and I'm the only guy that went all in besides Caspa Silver, but that's what he does. So we go all in knowing Caspa's hooked up with some big players. And then a year later, we find out Marathon Digital started mining it in September, which means they already had the paperwork. They were already looking at Caspa back then. And so our hypothesis was correct from this method. And this is what we teach inside VIP, incorporating this to trading along with a bunch of other stuff. And this is what's going to drive Caspa to the roof as the bull market actually kicks off. We can see the major holders of Marathon: BlackRock, Jane Street. Jane Street is a huge VC. They're a market maker, which means they own USTD up the wahoo. Imagine we're market makers. We're sitting around having a conference right now. We own more USTD than anybody. The majority of our bag is USTD because we have to provide liquidity. You following? And we're running this on Ethereum and Solana. Solana's been having all these crashes, all this bad technologies type of things. Ethereum's expensive and slow, and it's outdated for many reasons, from the code being Solidity and so on. They're looking for a new flagship stablecoin. They are. Who is? These guys. The guys who actually matter. I mean, anybody who's not looking at this and realizing Caspa's where it's at,
I pity the fool.
it's in, these guys want Caspa to work. Of course, Jonathan, who's the master of building smart contracts, he has to step up. They have some work to do, and that's going to be a huge catalyst. But these are the guys who own all these bonds. As their cash and liquidity hits the streets, it creates jobs. It stimulates the economy. Okay, it moves all these Fed numbers. They're who matter. They're the Alex Becker that we copy trade. We're not copy trading Alex Becker. We're copy trading Jane Street. Because they're the guys. Period. The most alpha strategy. And you can do this obviously with long-term HODL. We kind of finally got on the map as a top creator after this FOMC meeting. It was November 2nd. You can watch the video about smart contracts. We said, hey, we got to do a 10x leverage trade on Caspa right now. 48 hours later, the God candle happens. And we're like, 10x leverage it right now. So that was cool. That put us on the map. Then during this last downtrend, we got everybody in on both these shoulders, cold and then leverage here. And we're using this. So eventually when you're buying Caspa with the no diversification program, your gains plus the fact that you're stacking your savings every month, every 2 weeks or whatever, you won't be able to affect your HODL bag anymore. You'll have too much Caspa with your gains and everything. And now it's time to start diversifying into AI. And in VIP, that's why we rate these reports on DEAI, Spectral, all the projects that were the top performing after the FOMC meeting. My side bag was in the top 100 best performers. And that's what I want to see. There's 01 Labs right here. So what we're looking at is the most bullish performance over the last 7 days. It's actually been 8 days. So this is a little bit skewed. But we're looking at the best performer since the FOMC. And we can see right around 20th something position, DEAI. I've only got 3 bagger. That's one of my bags. But this is something that we were talking about and hypothesizing buying. This is actually a micro cap that just beefed up. We were hypothesizing buying this at 10 or 11 and we never pulled the trigger. This is going to be a juicy AI pick. I think a couple guys did just jump on that. And then our other one, which is Spectral, might have actually bumped down to the second page by now. Or maybe we passed it. We probably passed it. But our other really strong pick is Spectral. And in order to know these and trade them well enough, yeah, I mean, look at how much that ran up. This is the FOMC meeting here, 560. So it went up to like 10. This is one of the top trades you could have made. In order to understand Spectral and any project well enough to trade it, you got to have the written system that goes over every detail. So you can get in the VIP as Tipo is asking. Let me give you guys some links right now. I'll give you a link into the VIP and I'll give you a link to some margin trading stuff. So what you're looking for is Patreon, and we've got this in the description. So you just click this link for $47. You get this entire school that goes along with the trading plans. So looking at what we've got inside it, and then we'll get to this margin trading platform, which is no VPN. So all the trading plans, the macroeconomic stuff, this is covering, you know, all your FRED type of documents, the pattern directory. Of course, you could go and buy a book about patterns at Barnes & Noble. Here's the thing. they're all 5 years old. Trades you were never in on. These are the patterns as they're cooking. This was our head and shoulder post during the last FOMC meeting. We noticed something was a funk at the Circle K because they were making a head and shoulder right before the Bank of Japan carry trade. So we were like, pump that stop loss before something bad's going on with our leverage trades. How to use, we've got watch lists, new listings. So like that X post would fall under new listings with Kraken and whatnot. Using classic patterns and using the origin trend lines. And then this is all your fundamental stuff. We've got 84 questions that you cut, copy, paste, and put into AI. Forget about Google. Google's jaded. Use ChatGPT Super or Agent GPT. And we have a list of all the tools that you need in the 24-point checklist blank. And we've already filled out 7 of these for you. For advanced traders, this is a steal because what you're getting for $47 is you're hiring a guy to read 100 white papers for you, scan through them, come out with the good ones, and then I'll give you a summary that's going to take you an hour to read the cliff notes and everything. Plus, there's a lot of tools and links in here. These can be lengthy. They're like 8, 9 pages a piece. We have 7 reports plus links. So it takes a while to digest. One of them is for the best GameFi pick that's not even listed yet. I mean, hands down. There's no question about it. There's a guy who lives in my tower that speaks on CNBC. He was trying to tell me about this pick. That's how big it's going to get. He owns an exchange. Yeah, so a lot of value in there. And of course, you learn the origin trend line repeating system, which is what has been holding Caspa with all these repeating trend lines. Also works super good on every crypto, but looks really prominent on Tau. These 2 colored angled Fibonacci pitches, they're identical clones. When you zoom in on Tau, look at that. We actually posted this in VIP right here, and then it just kept going using the identical cloned copy that we had the whole time with these downtrends. And this is an augmentation of the wick-off charting method, breakout systems, as we're escaping the gravitational field, finding a lateral bounce. And now we have a flag pattern, which is going to ship out and probably just do the same exact thing as last time, jumping up to the blue zone and then finding its downward path. Good stuff. Yes. No, I've never been paid by anybody to promote any AI picks. They go for larger channels, and no, nobody's ever paid me anything. I just really wanted to open a VIP to teach everybody what's going on, as there's so much more happening behind the scenes. This is a sign-on bonus. So if you guys are interested in entering into any leverage trades, you can utilize this. And like a poker sign-on bonus, as you're trading, it will continue to drip into your account, beefing up your position. Watch out for the slider, though. It's kind of slippery. Make sure it's set correctly and it doesn't get you into like a 25 or 50x position. Yes, Caspa's going to go completely bananas. Looking at the historic run-up. When Bitcoin was $1 trillion, all these altcoins, we're looking at the highs right here. So Bitcoin's at a 1.2 trillion. The altcoins are getting 10% to even the worst of the worst, like Litecoin, Matic, and Polkadot. They're getting 2 to 5%. So as Bitcoin's up more towards, as Bitcoin's up more towards 3 trillion, we get 10% of that. That's a market cap potential for Caspa. That's 10%. So we can divide that by 5. That's 2%. So this is like not factoring in the M2, worst case scenario possible, 60 billion, 2%, like Matic or Litecoin. Obviously, way more than that. And we're at what right now? Like 4? So super upside incoming. People don't realize how off the chain it's going to get because Alan Greenspan's genius incorporating global liquidity into Bitcoin and everything. This is what Bitcoin was made for. This is what it was designed for. This is Bitcoin 101. As the monetary fiat system is destroyed, I mean, they're just playing cat and mouse, really. Look at this. All the way back to Wagner's days. Let's look at the 80s again with Wagner. This is why the generation before us, our parents, got so rich. All this money, first it was Ronald Reagan, right, who decided that they were going to stiff people and they were going to take us off the gold standard, or Nixon, actually, not Reagan, it was Nixon. Takes us off the gold standard way back here. Now we start playing fun and games. Now we've got fake money. We've got this. Automatic disaster, guaranteed to fail. They're just giving a timeline. Wagner, in the 80s, he had the interest rates all the way up to 20. So that yield alone is getting huge cash into the BlackRocks, into the Jane and Jump Streets of that time. And right now, as the Fed is cutting, just like after Wagner came out in the 80s, when this cash came crashing out of the bonds onto the street, it was easy to get rich. You could do anything. You're painting houses, great. They're developing new houses up and down the road. Just boom towns. All this cash hit the street. Loads of it with interest. And right now, boom. We've got a huge bubble that's about to crash. No, 15x is the most bearish. As we were going over those calculations, that was if it did something according to Polygon or Matic. Bitcoin projected to hit 150,000, which is the most bearish possibility for Bitcoin. 150 with the M2 the way it is. That's double its previous high. I mean, we've all got to agree 150 at least on the table for Bitcoin. These altcoins previously are capturing 10 to 2% of Bitcoin's market cap. So with a $3 trillion Bitcoin, that's 150. You're looking at worst case scenario, the lowest possible market, 60 billion CAPSPA market cap. But there's so many other factors that are saying that it's going way higher, like the out of control M2. We're realistically looking at way bigger numbers. Way bigger. Instead of 3 trillion Bitcoin, how about we get to 4 trillion, right? It's just 33% more. Divided by 10. That's not right, but at least, yeah, I mean, even if it only captures 5% of a $250,000 Bitcoin, it's still $200 billion market cap for CASPA. And this is the performance. This is how much they're going to take between 10% and 2% of Bitcoin's market cap. And CASPA, because Casplex was so smart, they're stepping up and saying, hey, let's make this more relative to right now. They're saying, hey, since you're not buying bonds anymore, since the government's telling you to get out of bonds into risk on assets, take a look at the Casplex. genius of Casplex, because guess who just got a prospectus this month showing the Caspa miners are making more money for Marathon Digital? BlackRock, State Street, Jane Street. These guys are all Charles Schwab. These guys are market makers. They're the ones that provide liquidity. One of the biggest misconceptions in the Caspa community is that Coinbase and Binance buy the Caspa. They deal the business to market makers like Jane Street. And they collect a fee. Jane Street's the real man behind the curtain. This is the Wizard of Oz. And these are the guys that deal in the bonds, just putting this all together. That's why this FOMC meeting has been so revealing at the projects that are going to do really well. Because now that all this information is put together,
Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought.
they already know what's going to go on because the Fed's telling them we're going to slash the rates down and we're going to hold them down for an extended period of time. The White House has already stepped up and they're saying you got to make sure your crypto projects actually do something. We were just looking at that one Open with their cool little mid-journey printouts. You can make all these t-shirts. This is nothing. This is a novelty compared to Spectral. What Spectral does is it creates online agents that can handle your wallet for you. Do you know what that means? This has been a concept that so many people have been trying to solve forever. Every time you're sending money from one wallet to the next, you're getting kind of nervous, making sure you got the address filled out for you correctly. How awesome would it be to have an agent where you can just go, take my Caspa, put it on the Binance exchange, and then sell it for me at so-and-so price. And it can do the transfer for you. This is part of what Spectral's doing, is they're connecting AI to crypto on chain, crypto wallets. So there's a variety of projects that can come out staying in line with regulation, which is very crucial for the distribution phase, which is going to be prolonged and even bigger. This is where the KII comes in, because the KII, if anybody completes their mission, Casplex is great. They're like a local deputy. The KII is the head of the CIA. This is like J. Edgar Hoover. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. As we know, the KII is also hooked up with the DII, right? The Desert Energy. Let's look at how baller these guys are. They're hooked up with Shell. We've gone over, we did a full video going on to Shell's website and looking at, we did a full video going on to Shell's website and looking at their plans for blockchain. The reason why the energy sector, the reason why Shell, the reason why the KII wants Caspa so bad is because they have accounting problems in the energy sector. Keeping track of not only how much gas and electricity, windmills, turbines that you're using, oil you're burning, oil you're refining. They need to keep track of this on the blockchain to prevent double spending, to prevent all kinds of shenanigans on this accounting level. Not only that, but the energy sector goes hand in hand with the climate change sector, which is what everybody in the KII is a specialist in. So what they're looking to do is create energy trading platforms. And what they mean by that is the tokenization of carbon credits. This is a $400 billion market. Companies like Tesla, They follow the rules. This costs them money. They get carbon credits. There's a problem with the program. And as we know, guess who the leader in climate regulation is? BlackRock. Why? Because they're using it to edge out their competitors. Oh, you can't meet our climate protocol. You can't do business. You're going to eat this giant fine. They're definitely using it to bully their competition around and create dominance in the sector, which is every sector. They own everything. Therefore, BlackRock can now use CASPA to really push people around because they're going to be held accountable for their pollution on the blockchain with the tokenization of carbon credits. The massive issue that's solved here is Tesla and Elon Musk. They're the good boys, and they're stuck with these carbon credits that no one's buying. They need to open it up to retail, so the carbon credits can be purchased by Joe Smo. They can be used in DeFi staking protocols. They can be used to mint NFTs or play GameFi. And this whole document gets into all that funk. I'll link this also in the comments. It's a good document. And it goes hand in hand with what the KII is doing, without a doubt. Yes, Caspa's also involved with AI. They have just some simple chat bots that Casplex has already launched called Cassandra.
My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.
Which is showing us that Caspa's getting ready to be on the front line for this distribution channel. It's going to be good. There was a team member that recently got removed from this profile. I wish I had a screenshot. He had jet black hair, and what he did was he was a builder of Far Cry. For any of you Xbox fanatics, Far Cry is like one of the best gaming titles, very creative storyboard. He built Far Cry. So there's a lot of potential for building on Caspa. Games, AI, carbon credits. This whole meme coin phenomenon is just the tip of the iceberg. Great question here. Massimo, love that name, by the way. You're Italian, me too. For Caspa to hit $1, this is part of the run-up phase. This is going to take, it won't be speculation, which is what we're seeing right now. This is going to take actual capital. So a historic reference would be the February 20th date. On Bitcoin, it reaches the top. On the total 3, it reaches the run-up. That's February 20th. Remember, GameStop also peaks right now. It peaks on January 30th, 20 days before both of these tops. So all risk on markets are peaking all at the same time because of what the Fed is doing right now. This giant rate cut. That's February 20th, 2020. 1 year later, these are the 1-year bonds. So they're taking this giant bubble and they're deflating it to stimulate the street right now. So as they're hacking back on rates, and they're going to hold it down for a longer period of time. This is good. The Fed could have came out yesterday and crushed crypto. They could have destroyed it. They could have said, we're doing one rate cut, 25 points, and we're not going to probably do any more. We got all this bad data. That would have created a blow off top. There won't be a distribution phase. Even with the popularity of crypto, at best, it would have been like a double top. Would have been like a run up and then another run up. Nothing good would have happened. It would have been a nightmare for crypto. But they are going with the distribution phase, which is when they hold down here. So as the bonds are getting cut, to directly answer your question, Massimo, right now they just hack some off. There's another meeting on Halloween, right? It's either Halloween or November 15th, right around then. Yeah, it's on Halloween. They'll cut again. possibly. So these rate cuts are a time-released stimulant that pushes the liquidity onto the market. And this goes hand in hand. This is Satoshi's genius. That's why they hypothesize Alan Greenspan built Bitcoin. Because just the last time they were cutting rates was back here. And then we got the halving, the last halving here. They're always cutting rates around the halving. You see? And then that's a supply and demand, both moving in the favor for Bitcoin to absorb liquidity like a sponge. So then moving back to now, we got the halving, which recently took place, and the rate cuts. And this is time delay. Both of those are. For the halving, the big miners get their supplies slowly dissolved away. And then the demand increases. And it's not so much what retail is doing, mom and pop. It's what the Batman and Robin team does. The investment banks and the central banks. They all team up. Remember the 2008 bailout? It was like the Fed just teamed up. BlackRock and Powell, they were like, yeah, let's just join forces and fix this problem. They're always working together. And so the investment banks are going to follow the lead. So they're going to get into risk on assets. That's why the Casplex launch, parallel with the FOMC meeting, to a newer investor, looks like, oh, the price is going to go up. But that's not what was happening. They're seeking long-term funding for the time release building to get everything in position to build the Trader Joe utility coins on Caspa so that the miners catch more money on Marathon Digital. Hence, Jane and Jump Street owns Marathon Digital, hence Caspa. Therefore, they have a pulse on the project. They're the ones that are going to build on this. They're the ones that own the bonds. They're the ones that are going to drive it to $1 in a year. So it will be the run-up phase, which is approximately going to start as early as August, mid to late August of 2025. It should start ramping up right around then. And depending on what the Fed does, it will show its top. It was very easy to do this connection because they hacked so much off. Otherwise, this would have been a much more ambiguous chart, and it wouldn't be so clear as these two dates. Remember the June 14th? That's when they start telling Batman and Robin, back to the Batcave, right? June 14th. Sell off and put your money with the government before we cause all this inflation. So there's the runoff phase. And then to add on to your question, similar to the AVAX chart, because there's so many early investors, people are wondering if there's going to be a big sell off after the run up and then diversificate and then the distribution phase. Like look at AVAX. We run up with GameStop and then right around here was when they start building Trader Joe. I think that Casplex is nullifying this from happening. That's my opinion right now. They're going to get a bigger, better, badder run up, and I think they're going to be able to hold it because of the strength of this distribution round. Because they're planning on holding rates low for longer. That's my spin. Right now is the speculation phase. So they have enough information. They, as in the people that were copy trading, the market makers, Jane Street, they know enough about artificial intelligence, about the distribution phase. The Fed's planning on holding us down for a while. They might not cut us all the way down to 1%, but they'll hold it down longer. And this is good for the development, the stimulation on the street. So this is the speculation phase, which is, in my opinion, we're going to start to make retail pay a premium for all of these projects as we just continue to roll sideways until we get there. yeah, overall, the reason, and this is something that we've got to keep in mind, and actually why we did this video on the M2, this particular upload, was because a lot of data looking at the prior rate cuts, for example, on Bitcoin or in the history of the world, every time, this was the prior first rate cut, every time you get a rate cut, you get a strong run up and then you get sideways and downward. And you're going to see the exact same thing on the total 3 chart. We cut rates, look at this, and then we go sideways and downward. A lot of market experts are like, well, oil's down, China's stimulating the economy. What they're trying to prevent is a recession. Because once there's so much money in bonds, there's nothing in the streets. This is what causes a recession, lack of jobs, things of this nature. But there's just so much money printed now that the entire system is in a funk. And you'll see this in the extreme circumstances, like look at Venezuela. As their fiat collapses and becomes worthless paper, their stock market just won't stop going up. Our stock market isn't stopping, and it's getting scary. And almost as a safe haven, a life raft, Alan Greenspan, knowing this, is theorized to be teaming up with a code of people to build Bitcoin, as it's designed flawlessly, utilizes all these tools. So there's an asset safe haven. Yes. So very exciting stuff. Interesting chart on the 1 day, both on Bitcoin and the total 3. These engulfing candles, which is a doji technical analysis that shows the massive struggle between buyers and sellers. Remember, it was just last night. It looked like we were going to get that sell-off that everybody was hypothesizing right about here. And the buyers have taken control. And so this is a key candlestick. I usually don't use doji candlesticks, but this is important because it shows us the psychology of the market. And right now we're getting to this y-axis trend line, but we have enough strength in all the indicators to surpass it. Yeah, looking at Caspa, we're right up on that x-axis. And even though this Twitter news about the crossword puzzle is clearly for Toncoin, not Caspa. As we can see, Caspa's written here, but right here, Toncoin listing. So this is kind of a psych out, or maybe a hint Caspa will come soon. We're right on this x-axis resistance. We actually just crossed it, just got above it. Most bearish case scenario, we make another cup here, doing another head and shoulders, then we're out and we're free for some upside. So I hope that this was an insightful video for you guys, connecting the Fed, the FOMC, as well as policy and governments into crypto, which is one of the things that we focus on inside VIP, making everything educational. Every trading plan we have will backlink into some of these study sections that we have. So you can either just dig in and check out all this extra content, and or look up this content as the post goes, as it all happens. So it's like an interactive book to study crypto, very friendly price. If you want to talk about your portfolio, just shoot me a DM and we can go over portfolio construction, factoring in time diversification with the bonds, making sure that we buy the right assets at the right time. You remember in the Caspa community, like a year ago, everybody was going crazy over GameFi? That doesn't make a lot of sense when we think about the distribution phase and when GameFi is going to really ramp up. GameFi is not going to have a particularly powerful run-up phase because the layer ones are, as we just talked about with those other projects like Open, or the ones that are going to get built on Spectral to help you transfer your crypto safely. The layer ones have the strongest run up. And then the distribution phase is for altcoins built on top. Therefore, why go for GameFi so early? We want to go for GameFi last. Right now, we're getting into the heart of altcoins, which is AI. We have all of these reports written on the best performing projects. We already had them written. Using this gem hunting technique known as the 24-point checklist, also comes with 84 cut, copy, paste questions. It works. The proof's in the pudding. So we get all these tools for you. It's great, super friendly price. Take a look at it, support the channel. Here we go, guys. It looks as clear as day that the market makers are going to start making retail pay a premium to get into altcoins. And this bull run top, absolutely out of control, as Satoshi designed it to save the world from the doomed fiat system. As we can see, the M2's off the chain. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.